Which job is a lot less fun than most people expect. Part 2. Working at an amusement park. Worked at Dr. John's, an adult shop, from midnight to 8 a.m. We had a lot of fun customers but a lot of total creeps. Plus the management were all crazy. Edit, a few quick stories. I was 18F. 5 feet 0 inches with red hair. Had a creepy guy stare at me from behind the racks for a while, so I got uncomfortable and went to the back room. The security guard radios me when the guy wants to check out. He bought all barely legal and redhead fetish videos. About 45 minutes later the phone rings and I answer. No one replied, so I asked if anyone was there. Can you hear me? That sort of thing. Hang up. Phone rings again. Same thing. That's when I learned that customers would call just to hear your voice. I had a 19F come in and say that she was a preacher's daughter, and I ended up walking her through the store explaining things. She was a lot of fun and spent most of the time blushing. An older man bought a blow-up sheep with noisemaker. And a gallon of lube with pump as a gag gift for a friend. I don't know that many people who would spend over $200 on a gag gift. Working the night shift, we got a ton of drunk people who were usually harmless. We were also about 10 miles from a nasty strip club, so we got a lot of their employees looking for outfits or shoes. Sometimes they would come in with random men and the men would spend a lot of money on them. The assistant manager got caught changing the prices on items she wanted to buy and then taking her 50% employee discount on top of it. She spent like $300 or something in one day and walked out with what should have been $1 in merchandise. The security guard on duty that day got fired. They pressed charges on the assistant manager for theft. A month later the manager got charged with tampering with a witness because she tried to get the security guard to say stuff that wasn't true. The owner said the employees were supposed to refuse service to anyone who was gay or transgender. We never did. Owner would get drunk and log into our online camera system and mess with cameras so security guards couldn't watch the sales floor. A pediatric nurse. Being a nurse for children and adolescents. Everyone in nursing school talks about how much they want to work with kids. The reality is that a pediatric nurse sees more cases of abuse and neglect than any other specialty. Doesn't matter where you are in a pediatric hospital. It's the thing you see most. I've seen so many DCS, Department of Child Services, caseworkers that I've gotten to know some of them and became acquaintances with them. Sure, working with children and adolescents is great. But people don't think about the most essential piece of that puzzle, which is their families. It doesn't matter how good of care you give to those kids. If you don't loop the parents into that care, you may as well just not be doing anything for them. Working in a cinema. People seem to think it's great fun and we get to sit and watch films and eat popcorn. In reality it's a quarter doing film programming / emails / cashing up. A quarter dealing with technical problems when one of the 1,000 pieces of tech you use breaks. A quarter is dealing with complaints about other customers or said tech issues. And the other quarter is spent trying to avoid all of the above. Edit, I should say I am not a customer assistant, but part of the management team. Navy. Steak and lobster equals bad news. Engineer. I grew up loving planes and space travel and being interested in how things work. I loved cars and motorcycles and anything mechanical or electrical. The reality is that you sit behind a desk likely making subcomponents at best. And dealing with issues that arise when it doesn't work with another component for the final product. Most engineers will not use even half of what their degree was for. Please note that of course there are exceptions. And many engineers get to do really cool things for their whole career. I'm just saying that most don't. Seeing all this makes me feel like I don't want to have a job. But instead live off fish. As in catching and eating, it's my favorite thing to do, not the job of a fisherman. An artist. Time management is very hard. And it becomes more of a job instead of fun hobby. Lawyer. No, it isn't like they show on TV. Hey. Finally case is before the judge. Crap, the other party didn't show up. Next date that judge has given is 3 months away. Edit. Need to say a few things. 1. Thank you fellow Redditors for the gold and silver. Now I can finally see what r/lounge is all about. Now. Little bit about me. I am from India and have moved on from litigation to academia. Personally, it was the right decision for me, as now I am way less stressed and can work on things that intellectually stimulate me. Having said that, I need to clarify that law is still a very rewarding profession. There is something in it for everyone. For those who want to change the world as well as for those who want to make money. It just demands too much of your time, plus the results of all your efforts are not immediate, and that can get stressful. Also, yes, that song "Don't Be a Lawyer" by Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is pretty spot on. R&D or product development. Very high pressure job. Since you bleed a lot of money and need to produce for the company to be worth keeping. You basically need to invent things while making sure that others haven't done it the same way. While other competitors have their own people doing the same simultaneously. There isn't any guarantee that 2 or 3 other companies are doing the exact same thing and are further into development while you're conducting preliminary trials before your invention disclosure. Months of work and millions of dollars can go down the drain if you are too late. Having a life is a lot less fun than most people expect. Till a lot of jobs I thought were cool aren't fun. Elementary teacher. Pilot. You could lose your career with a single illness or injury. Which could be happening to me soon. Game master at an escape room. It's the same repetitive script. Resetting the same stuff. Giving clues and hints about the same things. The patrons are often competitive families who argue. Obnoxious, impatient 13-year-olds. College students who have been drinking. Idiots who break shit and touch shit that I specifically told them not to. They never remember your initial instructions. If something gets broken during one group, you have to hurry and fix it before the next group. Zookeeper. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome to be around so many amazing animals and care for them. But the smells are ridiculously, insanely foul. I have a really strong stomach and it's still tough for me. We've had some interns quit over it. I was warned about the smells when getting into the field. But thought, oh, I volunteered at animal shelters. I know what animal stink smells like. Nope. Not even close. Flight attendant. I did it for a year. Think you're going to have a week-long layover in Paris? Guess again. You're working the red eye to Detroit? Don't get too excited yet. You're laying over in Cleveland tomorrow. Couple that with the job being boring AF, you just sit around for hours at a time on the flights. And it certainly is much less exciting than you would think it would be. Being a character performer at Disney. Don't get me wrong. There are some amazing perks and truly magical moments. I know I'm super lucky and tons of people would love to be in my shoes. But the day-to-day work is exhausting in ways I never thought possible. Guests are ridiculously abusive. I've had things said and done to me I never would have imagined. The company isn't always great, it highly depends on your leadership. And there's so much focus on your body and face, good and bad, that it can be incredibly depressing and difficult emotionally. Plus, you have to accept that there's very little upward mobility. Most people grow out of it, and it's rough to know that one day you'll get too old or too fat and you will have to start all over in a new career field. So you constantly are thinking either 1. What you're going to do when you leave. 2. How you're going to keep yourself there. I personally knew it would be temporary. And I now only work there seasonally while I have a normal career. But Disney has a way of sucking you in. Edit. Hey. My first award. Thank you so much, smiley face. Being an extra in a movie. Now, it can be super fun. I especially love historical and post-apocalyptic /sci-fi/fantasy type stuff. But a typical day on set wasn't what I thought it'd be when I started doing it. Often we have to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to holding. And if you're a minute late to check in, sometimes they'll kick you out. Then we sit around in holding with sometimes hundreds of other extras. And we're usually sitting there for a good 3 or 4 hours before they start telling us to get ready to film. During this time we go through long wardrobe, hair and makeup lines where they reuse clothes, unless you bring them yourself. Brushes and makeup without washing them. When we finally get to film, it's often the same mundane motions over and over, exceptions of course, and those are always fun. Then we either get shuffled around or go back to holding. Several more hours pass. We go film again. Hungry. You get lunch 6 hours after your call time. And a usually meager supply of snacks. In between takes it's more standing around. often in heat or rain, or we all get shuffled into cramped spaces to wait. Days on set are often more than 12 hours. And I know someone who had to be on set for 26 hours straight. They can legally hold you there until they declared filming is done. So don't make plans for the next day. Not to mention that you rarely see yourself in the final cut. I'm not trying to bash other background actors or the film industry, because I've met lots of awesome people and gotten to do some pretty cool things. For example, interacting with main actors in scenes, running around in the woods with fake guns, or being a zombie. But when I did my first job as a teen, I definitely thought it would be a lot different. ETA, like others mentioned, I'm not part of the SAG union. And extras who are do indeed get treated better / more perks. Also, it may be different in Hollywood. I've only worked in Georgia. I've also been a stand-in. And I like that a lot better, because you're treated as the crew rather than, well, as extra. Teacher. Children are psychic vampires. Scientist. I promise you, most of the time it isn't anything like the cool lab scenes in the movies. It's slow and frustrating 99% of the time. I still love it though. Monotony and all. Thanks for watching.